Hello and welcome to the NovaTime Technical Library. In this session, we're going to focus on adding users or changing existing users and assigning employee rights within the NovaTime 4000 or 5000 system. As you navigate to the User Setup category, you'll be brought into the Overview page. Within the Overview page, you can add a new user, save changes to an existing user, undo any changes prior to saving, delete an existing user, or apply IP lockout restrictions, meaning users can only log in from certain IP addresses. In this example, we're going to focus on adding a new user. I simply click on New, which will bring up a form input box. The username I want to add is TestUser2. I'm going to add the full name. I'm going to create a password between 8 and 12 characters. And if I want to assign the user employee field, I can. By assigning this, it'll create the toggle, if enabled, to allow the manager to log back and forth between themselves as a manager and employee. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and leave blank. It's also important to note that you can copy an existing user. So if you have a user already created with the permissions and access that you'd like to create for the new user, you can use Copy Existing User and determine which elements you'd like to copy to the new user. Once done entering the information, simply click OK, and this will add a new user to the list. As you can see, I now have TestUser2. A few other steps from the overview page that we want to take care of. If you want to change the password, simply click on the password field and it'll bring up the change password box and allow you to do so. It's important to click on the Info tab and apply the email address. If you don't apply the email address, simple workflow messages like timesheet submission and schedule requests will not make it to the supervisor. So go ahead and put this in, save, and then this supervisor will be able to receive messages from the system as they're routed to themselves as the manager. The web enabled simply is an active or inactive. If you uncheck this, the user will not be able to log into the NovaTime system. As mentioned before, we can say whether or not we check their IP address against specific IP address pools that we talked about. If using the USB NovaTouch system, you can enroll them and it will give it a second level of authentication through the USB fingerprint reader. Signing an access group is very important. Without this, the user will be able to log in, but rights will not be assigned and they will not be able to do anything within the system. So I'm going to go ahead and assign an access group that I've already created. In this case, I'm going to call this particular user a member of the basic supervisor group. Okay. And again, if I want to assign the user employee linkage to allow them to link back and forth with the single login function, I can do that from within the overview screen as well. But now that I've looked at all these fields, I can go ahead and save and I'll be done with the overview screen. Now that we've got our new user created within the overview page, we now need to tell the system who they can see from an employee base. To do so, navigate to the employees page within the user setup category, and you'll see the list of users on the left-hand side, as well as the properties pane on the right-hand side. By default, NovaTime will always assign the manually select to the new user because we do not know who the supervisor should see. To add employees manually, you're just going to click on the magnifying glass and then check those employees that apply to that supervisor. You also have an option of all employees. If you check this box, it gives that particular supervisor access to all employees. The group filter allows you to specify access to employees based on specific groups. So you notice if I now click on group filter, I can now say they can have access to employees with any number of groups, pay policies, or pay roles that we've set up in the system. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and say that they can have access to a single company. I'm going to say it's to this car company 1. Okay? So now by default, the system's going to see, the user will see all employees assigned to car company 1. If you want to see what the resultant policy of any filters that you've selected is, you can click on the magnifying glass over here to the left, and this will bring up a list of all employees based on that filter that you've applied. So based on selecting that one company, I see this user now can see 30 employees. Okay. If you want to remove access specifically to one employee, for example, maybe this user is already a member of that one company and you do not want them managing themselves, you can simply click on their name, and what you'll see is the check mark being taken away from the included category, and now that they have access to 29 employees within the filter. So this is a way for you to use both the manual and the group filters together. The next level of assignment that we want to talk about is the assign to. So if you've watched the employee general screen, you have the ability now to have the assign to filter or field within the employee general screen populated. So what this will do is, based on the employee general screen assign to, and I'm going to navigate there real quick, we have this assign to field. And so I'm going to go ahead and we see Anna Smith, the first one on our list, and I'm going to assign her to Antonio Lopez. So this is now her manager within her profile, and if I save this, then we create that linkage. Now if I go back to my user setup employee screen that we were just on, you're going to see that Antonio Lopez is now a supervisor in this screen. And so basically, if I move this over, the system will then give access to this user to any employee that has Antonio Lopez within their assign to. This is just, again, a way for the system to create a one-to-one linkage between employee and supervisor. Also take note, if you're using the assign to category, that there is an important checkbox here, including all unassigned employees. If you have a supervisor that you want to have manage all unassigned employees or those with no value in the assign to field, you can check this. However, you probably want to uncheck this, otherwise they would have access to all employees that don't have their name populated. Okay, so these are all ways that you can assign employees within the system. Note that you can only use one filter at a time, so please, when you're setting up with your consultant, make sure that you use the most applicable rule for your environment. So let's do a recap. The overview page within the user setup category allows you to create new users or change users and define what they can do in the system based on their access group. Once you've done that, then you use the employees page to define who they can see within the NovaTime system using one of four methods: all employees, manually selecting employees, using a group filter, or using the assign to within the employee general page. That's it for today's video. We hope you got a lot out of it. Thank you. Thanks for watching today's video training session. We hope you valued it.